Good evening and welcome into a new edition of Crunch Time Nightly here on ASTV Productions. My name is Michael Wags, Wagon Connect, joined alongside by my co-host, Scott Tobin. Scott, man, how are you doing today? Another beautiful day here in St. Louis. I know you've had a lot of high school covers that you've been dealing with the last couple of days, but how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, it was warm. I sat outside today because where I was at had no indoor press box, so sat in the sun, called some high school soccer today, which it was a little warm and toasty out there, but not bad. High school sports are starting to wind down, but there's still quite a few teams around the area that are making it to the quarters and semifinals in the state. So congratulations to all the high school athletes that are still playing sports this time of year.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting near the end of things, but the fact that you have a lot of high schools still playing, especially local high schools, is a really, really good thing as you're heading into the final weeks of the state championships. Who have you been covering, and who are the local schools we should be looking out for?
Yesterday I watched St. Clair was playing baseball against Springfield Catholic, which I know a lot of people around the area don't know Springfield Catholic, but it's a powerhouse baseball school in the state of Missouri. And they literally on that team have 7 kids committed to Division I colleges, and we're not talking like small Division I college schools either. I mean, we're talking powerhouses. 3 of them were going to Mizzou, 2 of them were going to Memphis State, 1 of them was going to Oklahoma, 1 of them was going to North Carolina. So we're talking big time programs, and that was impressive. And then I covered their soccer team last night, also, which is weird to have 2 Springfield teams in the area at the same time, just right up the road, because the Springfield Catholic soccer team was playing Union last night. And the Springfield girls also had 4 Division I kids committed to Division I schools, and Union actually beat them. So we need to give a shout out to the Union Wildcats athletic program this year, because this year, since football season, their football team made it to the state semifinals. The girls' basketball team made it to the state quarterfinals, and now the girls' soccer team is advancing to the state quarterfinals. So a really impressive year for the Union Wildcats out in Union, Missouri. They've had a great year for their athletic programs this year.
That's a really, really good thing to hear, because when you have a lot of these sports that are dominated by like the Kansas City area teams and the Columbia-ish area teams as well, having these local schools there really helps make this state a lot wider, and definitely could not be happier to have a local team, a local school like Union advancing the way that they are. So, all right, let's jump into some baseball talk, because we're going to have hopefully a really interesting conversation coming up with the broadcasting and media relations director of the Gateway Grizzlies. Brandon Ross is going to be joining us here in a little bit to talk about minor league baseball, the Frontier League, and how all that is being played out now. But before we get to the minors, let's talk a little bit about the majors, because the Cardinals today were looking to avoid the sweep at the hands of the Chicago White Sox. A couple of rough games, to say the least. I know last night's game, there were a lot of defensive issues, and that's essentially what led to Jack Flaherty's first loss of his season. But the Cardinals came out today. I wouldn't say they played well, but Tommy Edman had a couple of home runs. John Gant pitched 5 strong innings. And then they were able to hold on for a 4-0 victory today. So they snapped that small losing streak that they were on. But the thing that's coming out of this game is what happened with Giovanni Gallegos and Mike Schilt. Scott, why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of a rundown about what exactly happened today and what the result of that action might be?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. We know there's been a lot of talk about Major League Baseball trying to crack down on pitchers using foreign substances to try to increase their spin rate and all that kind of stuff. Well, today, Giovanni Gallegos came out to warm up. Hadn't thrown a pitch yet. He was in the middle of his warm-ups, and apparently Joe West spotted something on his hat, which, according to Giovanni and Mike Schilt, was a combination of some suntan lotion and a little bit of rosin to try to get a better grip on the ball, which neither one of those things obviously are illegal. But Joe West came out, apparently made a big scene, told Giovanni to get rid of his hat. Mike Schilt came out, was very unhappy about it. Schilt and Joe West had some words. Schilt got ejected, but before West ejected Schilt took his hat off and tried to give it to Gallegos, which Joe West stopped immediately. And then a trainer came out and brought Gallegos out a new hat. He went ahead and pitched the rest of the inning, struck out 2 of the 3 batters he faced in that inning. So obviously he didn't need a substance. His stuff is filthy no matter what. So that was kind of the end of it during the game. The umpires took the hat and took it back to the umpire room, locked it up. They're going to have it examined to prove what exactly was on it. The really interesting part of all this, I think, was Mike Schilt's post-game press conference. Schilt really tore into Major League Baseball and what a sham this whole thing is. He basically said, Major League Baseball wants to crack down on pitchers that are cheating. He said there's lots of examples of it. He said there's lots of pitchers that are doing it blatantly. They're basically flipping the bird to Major League Baseball and not trying to hide it. He said there's even video evidence of some pitchers doing it. So he basically challenged Major League Baseball to crack down on the people that were cheating, and totally defended Gallegos. Said he has absolutely no reason to believe that Gallegos has ever done anything, but just really attacked Major League Baseball and their policies and how they're going after this, and really criticized baseball. And so it's going to be interesting to see. Leagues don't really like that when managers come out and have negative things to say about their policies. So I would expect Mike Schilt to get a pretty big fine from the commissioner's office. But it'll be interesting to see if this leads to more discussion and if some other guys actually get caught. If more guys get their hats or gloves taken away and it leads to something actually happening.
Well, and Trevor Bauer had something about this, I think before the season even started. He came out and said something to that effect as well. And when you have not just managers, but also players kind of dictating this conversation, yet Major League Baseball hasn't done anything about it to an extent. I mean, what can there be done? I mean, is it in Major League Baseball's hands, or do the players and managers themselves need to start policing it?
I think there's certain things that Major League Baseball needs to crack down on. And, it's something that Mike Schilt said tonight too, was, he's not worried about people using Vaseline or rosin or pine tar, stuff that's going to get a better grip on the ball. The stuff he's talking about is guys, and he said guys are mixing stuff up themselves, and there's people in clubhouses selling stuff. The guys are putting on the ball that are, he basically said it's turning a baseball and making a baseball do wiffle ball type motion, changing the spin rate, doing all these weird things. So, that's the kind of stuff Major League Baseball needs to crack down on, stuff that's actually affecting the pitches, because I think 99% of the hitters will tell you that they're fine with pitchers using a little bit of pine tar or some rosin to try to get a better grip, because we've seen this year that pitchers don't necessarily have the greatest control these days. So anything that can help their grip and keep people from getting hit in the head is a good thing.
Yeah, we have seen a bit of a rise in hit by pitches this year, and you would think that baseball in general would want pitchers to have a little bit more control over their pitches so that you don't have the Bryce Harpers going down with facial contusions or things of that nature. So it is a little surprising that this is the direction that they go. It's going to be real interesting to see, like you said, what the result of Mike Shilt's press conference was today, what the results of what's on Gallegos' hat is as well, because that could lead to a couple of different things that the Cardinals really can't deal with, is losing a guy in the bullpen, because we all know that outside of Gallegos and outside of Reyes, the bullpen for the most part has been a bit suspect. And if you were to take Gallegos out of that, it'd be real scary for the Cardinals, at least for the next couple weeks.
Yeah, and I mean, from everything we heard today, like I said, it was Mike Schilt defending him, but it doesn't appear that that's going to be the case. It sounds like it probably was Santan lotion. Hopefully, Joe West didn't comment a whole lot. He just said, he saw something and wanted to take action. So, West didn't sound like he really thought Gallegos was cheating, but he was just trying to make a point. And, Joe West has kind of been the focal point of this series anyway, since he set the record for most games umpired over the weekend. So it might have just been a chance for him to kind of get his name out there one more time over the weekend, more than anything else.
Oh, wait, Joe West trying to get his name in the limelight? That's insane. There's no way an umpire would want to be the focus of a game, right?
No, no. I mean, we don't have anybody named Angel Hernandez running around thinking he is the game or anything like that. So,
oh boy. All right, we're not going to dive into that can of worms there. The Cardinals do salvage a victory against the White Sox today, 4-0. They travel now to Arizona to start a 4-game set with the Diamondbacks, and the Cubs won tonight, so that game, that lead in the Central is very perilous. You're talking about a half game right now. I'm a little surprised that Chicago is there with the Cardinals as far as being the next team up, but they've had a favorable schedule for the most part, and they did take the series against the Cardinals, so that does help their aspect right there. But are you a bit surprised at how well the Cubs have been playing so far this year?
I am. They definitely have exceeded my expectations to this point. I don't know how much it has to do with the Cubs being really good and the rest of the division being pretty bad, other than the Cardinals, honestly. I mean, Milwaukee's, I think, worse than everybody thought they were going to be. So is Cincinnati. And then there's Pittsburgh. So I think that has something to do with it. But, I was on the show last night with our buddy Joe Hamilton, who, is like level 4 of the panic bus right now, that everything's crashing down. The Cardinals are done. It's doomsday. We need major trades right now to save the ship. But like I told him, I think the Cardinals are going to be fine. I think they're the best team in this division, and they just need to keep their heads above water for the next couple of weeks, play around 500, get everybody healthy, and then I think they'll start taking off again, like we saw for that 3-week stretch where they did have a basically healthy ball club.
And Tommy Edman, 2 home runs today, so that's good to see, and you hope that he can continue to swing the bat well at the top of the lineup. Some finals in Major League Baseball today. You had the Twins a 3-2 victory over the Orioles. Sano with a 3-run homer in the 6th to basically get the win there. Michael Pineda, 6-inning pitch, an earned run, 3 hits, 8 strikeouts. The A's a 6-3 win over the Mariners. The Angels a wild 9-8 victory over Texas. Upton and Rojas homer in a 5-run first for the Angels. Texas has their own 5-run inning in the 8th, but they fall just a single run short in that game. I said the Cubs did beat the Pirates today. Bodie, a 2-run homer. Bryant, 2 RBIs. Trevor Williams pitched 6 innings in that one. We've got a couple games in rain delays, and the Blue Jays and Yankees, and the Rockies and Mets are postponed. Quick note on the Yankees. Last week we had Corey Kluber pitch a no-hitter. His next time out, he goes 3 innings and gets pulled. Well, lo and behold, now Corey Kluber is out 2 months with an injury. We've seen a lot of no-hitters already this year. Are we going to see a rash of injuries along with that, or is it just more so the fact that it's Corey Kluber and he was already coming off of injury from last year?
I think it's more that than anything, just that it's Kluber, and that's kind of been his MO the last couple of years, is he may have a couple of starts and then he may be injured again and miss some time. And so I think it's just his body breaking down on him more than anything else.
Well, that's a shame because we wanted to see him succeed, even if it was in New York. The Yankees also put Luke Voigt on the IL with a right oblique strain. The Tigers a 1-0 victory over the Indians. Grossman sac fly, the only run scored in that one. The Rays a 2-1 winner over the Royals in 10 innings. Tyler Glasnow, 8 innings pitched, 11 strikeouts in that one. And you've got the Padres, Brewers, Dodgers, Astros in action right now. A couple of games, like I said, Braves and Red Sox, Nationals and Reds in the midst of rain delays. So we'll kind of keep update on that. We're going to take a quick break here on Crunch Time. When we come back, we're going to be joined by the Broadcast and Media Relations Director of the Gateway Grizzlies, Brandon Ross. So make sure you come back for that here on Crunch Time on ASTV Productions. And we are back here on Crunch Time on ASTV Productions. Wags and Scott bringing you all the day's sports action. But for right now, we're going to take a little bit of a left turn here. We're going to move into some talk about minor league baseball. We're joined by Broadcast and Media Relations Director Brandon Ross from the Gateway Grizzlies. Brandon, thank you so much for taking the time out tonight to talk with us.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. And sorry you only get to see a copy of our great Izzy the Grizzly logo. My laptop died. I realized when I got home that I left my charger at the ballpark. Fortunately, I have a desktop here, but I have not yet equipped it with a webcam. So you're stuck with this. I mean, frankly, you're probably spared having to see my face. So
I'll put it this way. We scare enough of our viewers with our faces, so it's okay. We totally understand that. But like you said, the logo is great. It's been around for forever, and I absolutely love it every time I see it.
Yeah, no, Izzy's an icon.
That he is. Well, we'll talk a little bit about the Grizzlies here in just a moment, but one of the things that you kind of mentioned when we were kind of texting back and forth today was about the implementation of the new things in minor league baseball, how the Major League Baseball agreements with teams has kind of affected you guys in the Frontier League, among many. Can you kind of give us a rundown of how that's affected you guys and what is actually going on in the Frontier League?
So to break it down, the Frontier League is now an MLB partner league. I am not exactly sure what in all that details, but I think from what I've gauged out of all of this is, at least from what I've gathered, MLB contracted its minor league affiliates from 162 down to 120. And I think the idea with that was, one, having spent some time in affiliated ball at the lowest level with an advanced rookie affiliate of Kansas City, once you're at that low a level, the talent pool gets really low, and sometimes you run into some teams where really only 4, 5, maybe 6 guys even have a realistic chance at making a big league roster someday. So I think in MLB's eyes, at least from what I did, and look, I'm not trying to be a shill for MLB here. I hate contraction as much as the next guy in terms of the practice, but I think for what MLB is aiming to do here, I think it's actually pretty practical in that basically it's cut out the bottom leg of minor league baseball, where you maybe had some teams that were not in as great facilities. You had some squads that were filled with mostly players that were likely, or rather not as likely, to make it up the tracks. And so what you get is the Frontier League, the Atlantic League, the Pioneer League. These are leagues that are starting to serve as sort of filling that void. And what that leads to is you get some talented players bouncing back. There is now a half shortened drafts, 20 rounds instead of 40. You're going to get some more talent that slips through the cracks into these independent leagues. And that's where the Frontier League can step in. We have 16 of our 24 players that'll be on the opening day roster played for an MLB affiliate, including a couple former top 5, 10 round picks. We have a former Royals first round pick in Chase Vallo. So that's one name to keep an eye on that some folks in Missouri, I just came here a couple weeks ago, but some folks in Missouri may know that name from him being a Royals pick. And should have a really stocked lineup and an overall more competitive Frontier League.
Well, and Scott, you've covered a lot of high school and a little bit independent league baseball wise. I mean, what do you make of this talent pool, and what kind of question do you have based off of that?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Can you just talk a little bit, Brian, about some of the guys that you have on your roster, where some of them have come from, and just give our listeners kind of an idea of what your roster is going to kind of stack up and look like?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, 16 of the 24 players have affiliated experience. We made one last-minute trade for someone from Schaumburg, but other than that, everyone else has a pretty rock-solid background in terms of being with this team from the get-go. And you have some guys who have been in affiliated or non-affiliated minor league baseball for 4 or 5 years, and you have some guys who are fresh out. You have some guys who were solid in their last seasons of college, like Jay Prather, who played at North Florida. He hit above 300, but again, a guy who listed at 5'9" doesn't necessarily have the size that catches a lot of teams' attention. And that's the thing with a lot of these Frontier League guys is you get a lot of people who are, they're really good. They have all these things, and there's usually one but, and it varies in terms of severity with Prather. Presumably it was his height. You have a guy like Chase Vallo who really couldn't get the average going in affiliated balls. So who knows what could happen this time around. You have some other bounce backs who only played a couple of years in affiliated ball. Andres Regno, who played for a couple of the Mets affiliates. He's back with the Gateway Grizzlies. You have some players who have bounced around a bit. Jose Rosario coming from the Milwaukee Milkmen. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, like Vallo, some former high-round picks. Another one to keep an eye on, Clinton Holland, was a second-round pick of the Blue Jays back in 2013. And solid rookie year. Then he actually he had Tommy John, fell into a little bit of a pain pill addiction, overdosed a few times, but he's made the climb back. He played in the Battle of the Bourbon Trail with the Lexington Legends, and this is his first full season back. He says he wouldn't have made it to Gateway without that chance with Lexington, so that could be a great comeback story to keep an eye on more generally.
Well, and that is exactly what this show is about. I'm a huge story-driven person. Like, anytime you have those feel-good stories or those battle-back stories, that's exactly in my wheelhouse. So to hear that there's a little bit of that locally, that absolutely makes me and draws me into wanting to follow the Gateway Grizzlies and that story. So let's talk a little bit about what fans can expect this year, because obviously last year with COVID, things didn't work out the way anybody thought it was going to. And yes, we've had some restrictions lifted, but being over in Illinois, it's a little bit different than us over here in Missouri. So what can fans kind of expect when they get to the ballpark and then throughout the game day experience?
Well, that's a great question. And you're right. The fact that we are in Illinois and Sauget makes it a little bit different. We are going to start with a somewhat limited capacity. I don't know the exact number. My GM would probably know that better, but we're probably starting in the ballpark of 60%. Every other row is going to be roped off. Masks will be optional but encouraged. It becomes tough for an organization like us to adequately track who's vaccinated and who's not. But given we're an outdoor venue, given we have that separation built in, we should be fine, at least out the gate. And then the hope is by July, we're fully up and running with full capacity and just the typical GCS Credit Union ballpark that most folks are used to.
So are there any dates or any events on the calendar coming up as far as games that fans should circle on their calendar that they're really going to want to go check out, or any special events going on in the ballpark that you have coming up that fans are really going to want to get out to Sauget and see the Grizzlies for?
Well, for starters, opening day tomorrow, 6:45 first pitch against a team from Quebec. There are multiple Canadian teams after the recent merger with the Can-Am League that was supposed to take effect last season, now really going into full throat this season. But because of the Canadian border restrictions, there's only one Canadian team being fielded, and it's an entirely road squad. So that'll be interesting to see how that pans out. There'll be fireworks after the game. We'll have National Burger Day on Friday. And if you know anything about GCS Credit Union Ballpark, it is known for baseball's best burger. And I have not tried it yet, but
you got to.
I believe me, It is part of the plan. And then also, I almost forgot. I better not forget. Ted Simmons bobbleheads being given out tomorrow night.
Wow.
We'll have fireworks for every single game of the July 4th weekend series against the Evansville Otters. I need to pull up the schedule right now. We have a Nick at Night theme coming up in August. I have many a fun idea for that one. So be sure to stay tuned. It should be a very, very good one.
That one right there piques my interest because Nick at Night was definitely something that played in my household many a nights. You talked about the traveling Canadian team, and obviously we know, for me especially, I live out in O'Fallon, Missouri, so we were very, very close with the River City Rascals, and we knew a little bit about that. Obviously, we got a different team, different league. We won't talk about that too much. But what's it like for a player in the Frontier League? Has there been any changes because of this merger with Major League Baseball, or is it still kind of in the vein of, host families and things like that?
Good question. I would say not much has changed because I don't know the exact number. I think every member of the staff is vaccinated, and I believe every player is vaccinated. So overall, I don't think very much changes in the way of how general operations go. Maybe a few more precautions when we go on the road. That's to be determined. We'll have our first road trip immediately after this 2-game set, heading up to Schaumburg for the weekend. A lot still to be determined, a lot still uncertain. But one of the things that the league did do for this first year, which certainly makes my life easier as the traveling broadcaster, is basically the old Frontier League and the new Can-Am League, which with the exception of the Washington Wild things, is entirely sort of zoned off. So we go to Lake Erie a couple of times, but that's as far as we go. Otherwise, we're playing strictly the teams from Illinois, Evansville, Florence Crushers. We don't go to Washington. We don't go play any of the teams from New York or New Jersey or Canada, for that matter, since they're the one road traveling team. They will, at least as it stands right now, if the border reopens, they will go back to formal form and they will play home games and all of that stuff. But as it stands right now, they will be an all traveling squad. And at least for me, it's nice because we don't have to make too many long road trips.
So for our listeners or viewers that have never seen an independent league game, don't know anything about the Grizzlies, what would you say to those guys? What would be your selling point to say, hey, you need to come out to Salvage, come out and check out the Grizzlies, come out and see independent baseball? Just kind of talk to the fans that don't really know a lot about independent baseball and tell them why they should come out and check out a game.
Well, I think this applies more broadly to just all of minor league baseball, because obviously St. Louis is a major league baseball city. Most people know, okay, you pay your 20 or 30, $40 minimum to get into Busch. You have overly priced drinks, overly priced food, sometimes not as great seats, and you get to watch some of the best baseball. And in the minor leagues, you get that baseball factor taken away. So oftentimes you get a lot more fun things happening throughout the course of the game. The promo team going up, getting at them. We'll have massive boxing gloves for two kids to go at them with. We'll have T-shirts being shot up into the stands. It's a much more fun and entertaining atmosphere. And on top of that, it's a lot more affordable. Because it is a smaller organization, because it is a lower tier, you get a lot more accessibility when it comes to being able to watch this level of professional baseball. Our slogan is affordable family fun for a reason. It's affordable, it's good for the family, and because it's baseball, it's always fun.
So now talk a little bit about how you've gotten into the position that you're in as a broadcasting media relations director. How long have you been with Gateway, and kind of tell us about your journey to this point?
So I'm not even kidding when I say a month ago today, I didn't have this job. So as you can see, things have moved rather quickly. So I kind of got into journalism, the sports side of journalism, writing for an SB Nation blog when I was in high school. I grew up a Syracuse fan, so I wrote for the Syracuse blog. And Syracuse has a good communication school. One thing leads to another. I go to SU. I didn't know exactly what I was planning to do, broadcasting, print, sports news. Eventually, it all came together where sports broadcasting and calling games wound up being the thing that I felt I enjoyed the most. I had a summer baseball internship in the New York Collegiate Baseball League the summer after my freshman year. As I mentioned earlier, I was with the Burlington Royals, now the Sock Puppets. At the time in 2019, they were the rookie advanced affiliate of Kansas City. Got to see some pretty awesome baseball there. Broadly, we did play a Cardinals affiliate, which, in case you have any questions about that, I can rehash if my memory serves me well enough. And then after that summer, I was going to go to Cape Cod League and work with the Orleans Firebirds, and then pandemic hit. And around all of that, I'm doing stuff at school, the student radio stations. There are two of them, WJPC, which is actually student-run, women's hoops, women's lacrosse, high school football. And then for the men's sports, the big sports, football, basketball, it's lacrosse. Syracuse does not have a baseball team. We have WAER, which is actually the local NPR affiliate and is actually being absorbed into the communication school. But the sports department has always been entirely run by students. That's where you get your Sean McDonoughs, your Ian Eagles, your Mike Tirico's. Mike Tirico is sort of like a living god in terms of WAER folklore. And even some more recent guys, Mike Cousins, Kevin Brown, Jason Benetti, who's getting a much, much bigger profile. A lot of very talented folks. And I got to work at the same place. I got a lot of good experience there. And then I graduate in December with the plan of, all right, minor league baseball, let's go. Unfortunately, there are 42 less affiliated teams, and many teams who still do exist aren't hiring broadcasters, or a trend that's become a much bigger thing this year, partnering up with local colleges and just having the students do the games for free. So that made finding my first job a little harder. I freelanced a little bit near home. After I finished up in December, I started a graduate program that, let's just say, I'm not planning to finish. I will leave it at that. But I did some work at Marist College doing lacrosse and water polo there. I did softball, field hockey, lacrosse at Colgate a little bit. Filled in at Manhattan, did the junior college championships for lacrosse, and I was still applying for full-time jobs all over the place and just baseball jobs. Nothing was really falling my way. I was at the point where I was probably going to actually do a part-time unpaid internship for another team in the Frontier League closer to home, which is the New York City metro area. I was going to work for the Boulders. Then I'd seen this opening come up, and Gateway has a pretty strong history of broadcasters coming through. Aaron Goldsmith of the Mariners and Fox Sports is one. Sam Levitt, who's now with the Amarillo Sod Poodles. Adam Young, who does statewide college sports in New Mexico and Arizona. And so I was like, you know what? This number 2 position seems like it could be appealing. It might not be exactly what I was planning on, but let's go for it. So I applied through the portal, and I reached out to Nate Gatter, who also worked for the Orleans Firebirds, the team I was supposed to work for. So I was just like, maybe throw that little nugget in there, see what happens. Things get put on the back burner. We don't end up doing the phone interview until April. A week later, I talked with him and the GM, and I was actually on a visit to a TV station in Michigan. They were deciding whether or not they wanted to offer me a job. I was seeing the place. They were taking me out to dinner, and in the middle of that dinner, Nate calls and offers me the job and tells me because originally I interviewed to be his assistant, and he told me he was planning to step back this season. He's still going to be on the home broadcast, but it was my show. And I was, there was music playing upstairs. I was trying to make sure that no one who was in my party could hear that I was on the phone taking another job. But it all worked together. That phone call came in on, I believe, April 29th. And May 9th, I hit the road for the Frontier League tryout camp in Cleveland. And May 13th, I showed up to work for the first time.
So I have to ask, because I heard you mention it when you were talking about the different sports you did. How difficult is it to call water polo?
So I did color, but which, as seeing my reactions, you could think arguably that's harder. But I mean, the thing is, eventually, when it comes to those newer sports, you oftentimes can find enough parallels between enough of them. Like once you've done like 7 sports, every other one, with rare exceptions, you can find some sort of parallel. Like water polo is just, I would say it's a hybrid between soccer and lacrosse, except you're swimming and you can punch each other under the water as long as the ref doesn't see. It is an underratedly, really aggressive sport. But it's a lot of fun. I just stuck to what I know, didn't try to go into territory where I wouldn't be in a knowing position. And you know what? I had my fun. I've done water polo, I've done lacrosse, field hockey, softball. Like rugby is like the one sport I can think of that I haven't done yet. But like in terms of sports that colleges typically offer, I've probably done most of them at this point.
Well, like you said, yeah, anytime you can kind of find those similarities. I mean, I'm a hockey player, and people look at me and go, "Oh, well, what is that all about?" And you go, "Well, it's like football and baseball and basketball all kind of combined on ice and all that stuff." So, like, yeah, finding those similarities, it makes a lot of sense. And you're really starting, especially down here in the St. Louis area, we're really seeing a big push in rugby, actually. So that might be your chance to maybe call some rugby, because you got a lot of that going on down here. One of the other things I wanted to talk about, because you said it's kind of like your show now. Are you planning on doing things around just just calling the games themselves? Are we going to have any Gateway Grizzlies, radio shows, TV shows, podcasts, or anything along those lines to help get that out there to more people?
So one of the things that'll be a nice addition for this year is there's now a league-wide streaming service through Vimeo, Frontier League TV, so fans can tune in and watch the games along with there being the typical radio broadcast. As it stands right now, I will probably produce some pregame content for each one of those video broadcasts on the video side, even though the broadcast itself will be radio. And I'm planning to really, really up the video content. The last couple of years, we've been talking. We figured we want to do more. You're going to see a lot more, fun, getting to know the man behind the jersey type content. You're going to see just more frequent updates and things from the road, just more stories overall. We'll try to get more of those out there, maybe video sit downs with accompanying writing articles. I have a couple of interns working with me, Bryn and Ruby. They've been fantastic so far. And I mean, we still have a lot to work on because, again, I haven't even been here all but a couple of weeks, but still plenty is in the works. The Grizzly Glance will always be there for previewing our home games. I'm going to get Grizzlies on the Prowl going for our road series. And again, there will be a lot more fun stuff to stay tuned for at Gateway Grizzly on Twitter. You can find all of that. We're also on Facebook and Instagram.
That's awesome. And this is kind of a shameless thing for us. Anything you ever want to send our way that we can share on our pages, we will definitely do that, because like I said, we lost the Rascals. We've gained the Hoots, different leagues, so not much competition. But if there's ever anything you want to send our way to get out to more and more people, we would be glad to get that out there for you guys.
And we would always appreciate it, because we always want more people to discover that there's more to sports than the big shows and the top tier athletes. You can have a lot of fun watching maybe some minor league sports and doing some old fashioned fun with the family.
Most definitely. And one final thing before we let you get out of here. Have you gotten a chance to meet Tom Calhoun yet? I
have not yet. I will for the first time tomorrow.
He is an absolute blast. We've had him on our show, and if you're a fan of sports, he's the PA guy for the Blues, does an incredible job. You're going to absolutely love him, and really, honestly, just listening to you in this interview, I'm very excited to listen to you call the games, because they say it all the time, when you have a voice for radio, it's really good, and you got an amazing voice, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I certainly have the face for it too. So it all works out in the end.
That it does.
And you'll still get to hear Nate, who's been on the call for the last few years, a very talented man in his own right, and someone I'm very excited to learn from.
And that's the best thing too. That you got somebody there that's tenured, that is willing to help out, and that's the best thing you can hope for. Well, Brandon, once again, tell us again where we can find all the Gateway Grizzlies content.
So gatewaygrizzlies.com is where you can find all the general information. On Twitter, we're at Gateway Grizzly. You can also find Gateway Grizzlies on Instagram, on Facebook. Yo Radio is the link to, and the app as well, to listen to the Gateway Grizzlies. You can download it from the App Store. You can find it through the website. And as I mentioned earlier, the Frontier League TV will be a part of the general broadcasts of the Frontier League this season. You can go get that. You can actually get $25 to watch every single Frontier League game. So not just the Grizzlies. You could see a lot of different teams. And now there are, well, at least to start the season, there are 13. And in the end, there will be 16. So that'll be a much cheaper price for a lot of baseball than MLB.TV will give you.
Most definitely. Well, Brandon Ross, the broadcast and media relations director from the Gateway Grizzlies, thank you once again for taking the time to talk to us about minor league baseball, the Grizzlies, and everything in between. We very, very much appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Our
Go
pleasure.
Grizzlies.
Go Grizzlies. We appreciate that. And we're going to take a quick break here on Crunch Time, come back and wrap up the show with some more sports, including some NHL action, because we got some great games going on there tonight as well. So make sure you come back for more Crunch Time here on ASTV Productions. And we're back here on Crunch Time here on ASTV Productions. Once again, we want to thank Brandon Ross for joining us. Great information when it comes to minor league baseball and the Gateway Grizzlies. Get out there to Salvage and see a game, because not only are you going to get a great experience, but man, that food, he wasn't kidding about the burger, but they have a lot of really good food over there as well, don't they?
They really do. You know, and if people haven't gotten to a minor league game or an independent league game, you really need to go, because it is a fun experience. And while it's not Major League Baseball, it's still really good baseball. You know, it's fun to see those guys play, and they put on a good product. And it's a fun ballpark to be in. So, you know, go out and check out the Grizzlies or the Hoots or any minor league baseball or independent league baseball that you can get to, because it is a fun time.
And you'll never know which future superstar you might actually see on that team, because I know when I was out here with River City Rascals, you know, we got to see guys like Josh Kinney, who ended up becoming a World Series champion with the Cardinals. So you never know when you're going to see a potential superstar or World Series champion or anything like that. And it's not just independent or Frontier League or minor league baseball. It's all your amateur and younger sports. Any sport that you have, go out and see, go out and support. It's amazing. So, all right, let's talk about some NHL action tonight, because we've got a couple of game sixes and a couple series that ended tonight. We're going to start off with the Islanders and Penguins. The Islanders were leading that series 3-2 tonight, and they come away with a 5-3 victory. The Islanders and Penguins traded goals in the first period, a 2-2 tie after one. Pittsburgh goes up early into the second period, but 3 straight goals by the Islanders, including a couple by Brock Nelson, propel the Islanders to a 5-3 victory, and they knock out the Penguins 4-2. I know we talked about this on Monday night. I thought Pittsburgh was a kind of a sneaky dark horse team that could potentially go to the Stanley Cup Finals, but they're out. Are you a little surprised by the fact that the Penguins went out kind of easily?
Yeah, I was. You know, I was kind of right there with you that thought Pittsburgh might be a surprise team with the talent that they still have on that club. But, yeah, a little surprised. And I don't like the Islanders, so, you know, that disappoints me as well.
Yeah, because you are a Rangers fan. So anytime the Islanders do well, you are not happy.
That is very true.
Well, the Islanders will advance to play the Boston Bruins in that matchup in the East, in that second-round matchup there. The Tampa Bay Lightning advanced tonight 4-2 with a 4-0 victory over the Florida Panthers. Spencer Knight could not repeat the same performance that he did in Game 5 to lead the Panthers to the victory. So Tampa Bay moves on. Andrew Vasilevsky, 29 saves in the shutout. Steven Stamkos, a goal and an assist. And St. Louis selling it. Our boy Pat Maroon got a goal as well tonight. He actually opened the scoring for Tampa at 6:16 of the first period. I mean, I know that Tampa Bay won last year, and Maroon got his back-to-backs and all that, and you kind of always want to try and see different champions every year. But if Pat Maroon goes 3 for 3, that's got to be some sort of story, some sort of movie that has to be made, right?
Yeah. The Pat Maroon movie, the Pat Maroon story coming to a theater near you. I think if Pat gets a third one, 3 in a row, I think we need to have a Stanley Cup parade in St. Louis for Pat Maroon. We'll just do it one more time. We'll just have Pat, some of the Blues players can come to congratulate him. It'll be kind of like we won it all over again. It'll just be Pat carrying the cup, watching him drunk, and then Brett Hull can show up, and it'll be a good time. It'll be, even though it'll be the Lightning, it'll still be a big party in St. Louis. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea. I mean, I know he brought the cup here, obviously, because he gets his day with it. I know he brought it here last year in the midst of the pandemic, so not a whole lot of people got a chance to celebrate with him going 2 for 2. But if he goes 3 for 3, yeah, you have to have some sort of parade. You have to have some sort of party, maybe initiate an official yearly Pat Maroon Day, despite the fact that it was Tampa, because, I mean, you don't get 3-time champions in a lot of sports nowadays. And the fact that you can have a guy that may do it 3 times in a row, that is just absolutely incredible. And, they're going to have a tough matchup in the next round. They're going to play either the Carolina Hurricanes or the Nashville Predators, and that series is super tight and super good. Carolina leads that one 3-2, but after 2 double overtime victories for Nashville in a really close game last night, I'm not really ready to say that Carolina's going to easily win Game 6 tomorrow. Tampa's got a tough road ahead for them still, but I think they've got a really good inside track on getting back to the finals and maybe repeating this year.
Yeah, I think they've got a shot at it. I mean, whoever comes out of the West is going to be really tough, though, man. It's going to be really tough. I'd love to see Pat win a third one. I really would like to see that happen, but it's going to be a tough road.
It really is, because right now over in the West, you've got Colorado that's advanced. Obviously, they took out the Blues. We won't cry about it anymore. Vegas and Minnesota are going at it tonight in Game 6 of that series. Vegas leads that series 3-2. So you might have a Colorado-Vegas matchup, and the team that comes out of that is more than likely probably going to be the favorites. In the North Division, you've got the Jets that have already advanced against the Oilers. Holy crap. We talked about that already, but man alive, to be an Edmonton Oilers fan, it's got to be terrible. And then they're going to play the winner of the Toronto Maple Leafs and Montreal Canadiens series, which Toronto's leading 3-1 currently. They got Game 5 tomorrow night. So I'm looking at that and I'm going, Toronto, Winnipeg. I don't think either one of those teams really has a chance against Colorado or Vegas. Although I'd probably give Toronto maybe the slight edge on being a team that could beat one of those. But I still think Colorado or Vegas is going to come out of that side of the bracket. So if Tampa does make it to the finals, can you imagine a Tampa, Colorado, or Tampa Bay Vegas final? That's going to be absolute insanity.
Yeah, and just think of all the former – if it's Tampa Bay Vegas, think of all the former Blues playing in that Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, a ton of them, whether they played on the Major League roster or not. That's going to be just an absolutely incredible final if we get to that. But we still got a couple rounds to go. We'll definitely keep track of that as we go on the next couple weeks, even though the Blues are out, unfortunately. Let's talk some NBA action now, because we've got the playoffs going on right now, but I want to talk about this Minnesota Timberwolves thing real quick, because the sale might be in jeopardy a little bit. So the second largest shareholder in the Timberwolves, Meyer Orbach, filed a complaint on the pending sale. He cited Glenn Taylor's failure to honor what is called, quote, tag-along rights for minority investors. These tag-along rights allow them to sell their interest before Taylor, the majority owner, would sell his. The other piece of this is that there's also no provision included in the sale agreement stating that the new ownership must keep the team in Minnesota. And if you don't know the story behind this, Alex Rodriguez is part of a group that is buying the Minnesota Timberwolves. And this is where things get really, really tricky, because they're not buying them outright. They're actually buying them in stages because they don't have the funds completely together at this point in time. And Glenn Taylor's argument is that the tag-along rights don't come into effect because the sale isn't completed. It won't be completed until 23-24, whereas the minority owners, including Orbach, are saying, no. Once the sale has been commenced, whether it's in stages or not, we have the ability to sell our interest before you were to sell yours. And we're potentially on the verge of a very, very messy court battle, potentially. It's still kind of early in the process. The Board of Governors still need to approve the sale and all of that. But, what's kind of your mindset about what's going down in Minnesota? And if the sale does happen, do we see the Timberwolves potentially leaving the Twin Cities?
First of all, that's the weirdest sales agreement I've ever heard of a professional sports team, where you're buying it in segments and, hey, the sale's not going to be finished for a couple of years because we don't have the money to do it all right now. I mean, who approves that? Who says, okay, let's do it that way? I mean, I've never ever heard of that in a professional sports team's being sold. So that's really odd. As far as the Timberwolves moving, I can't hardly see it because Minnesota loves that team. And I know that doesn't necessarily matter. But, they support the Timberwolves, whether they're good or bad, usually up there. So I would be shocked if the Timberwolves left Minnesota. But, the St. Louis Wolves would be okay. I could live with that.
I could deal with that. I know that there's been talk over the last, really the last 15, 20 years about St. Louis getting a basketball team. First, it was the Vancouver Grizzlies, who became the Memphis Grizzlies, who are now kind of in our circle of influence, our sphere of influence. We're definitely following them in their journey in the playoffs right now. They actually, I believe, are playing the Jazz right now. And after the first quarter, the Jazz lead the Grizzlies 36-27. Keep a close eye on that one. But yeah, if the Timberwolves were to come down here, it wouldn't be terrible. Although I don't know if I want Alex Rodriguez being one of the owners of one of my teams. I just don't know if I could get on board with that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But if you get a pro sports team, it can't be any worse than Stan Kroenke. You got to look at it that way.
That's right. That's true. The bar has been set very, very low by Stan Kroenke. So you can come in here and maybe be, I'm not going to say a former murderer because I don't want O.J. Simpson here either. But the bar has been set very, very low when it comes to ownership here in St. Louis. So, yeah, A-Rod in St. Louis may not be a bad thing. So some games going on tonight. Game 2 of the Sixers and Wizards. Also game 2 between the Knicks and the Hawks. I don't know if it's a surprise to me, but the Sixers just absolutely destroyed Washington again tonight. 120-95 was the final in that one. You had Bradley Beal getting 33 points in the loss. Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, 22 points apiece. They combined for 16 boards and 11 assists. Tobias Harris, 19 points and 9 boards. And you said on Monday night that if Tobias Harris gets hot, this could be a very, very quick series for the Washington Wizards because Embiid and Simmons, they're going to get their points. They're going to do their damage. But when you can get a third head to that monster, it's going to make them incredibly difficult to beat. And we saw that again tonight in this matchup.
Yeah, they're going to be a really big force in the East. And if they have that three-headed monster, then you say, okay, now we can match up with Brooklyn and what they bring at us with their three-headed monster. Well, Brooklyn's got like a five-headed monster with all the guys they've got coming off the bench now. But, our big three matches up with their big three starters, and you feel better if you're a Philly fan about them being able to take out Brooklyn.
Very much so, and that might be what it comes down to. Although, Giannis in Milwaukee, they may have something to say about that as well. Although that's the thing about these playoffs, though. You've got, and I hate to use the word super team because the Nets kind of are, and then you got Philadelphia that's kind of mostly there as well. Milwaukee is just Giannis with some pieces around him as well. Nothing like super team level. Would they be able to pull off a series victory, even as well as they're playing right now, going up against a team like Philadelphia or Brooklyn?
It's going to come down for Milwaukee to win. They're going to have to play really good defense because of the fact that they don't have the firepower with all of those guys to match up. So Giannis is going to have to really play some great defense. A guy like Eric Bledsoe going to have to play really good defense and just shut guys down for them to be able to advance. And in saying that, it wouldn't shock me if it happened because Milwaukee is good. We don't know. Brooklyn, all three of those guys could get hurt. Kyrie could come up with some reason why it's not important for him to play basketball for a week again or something. So who knows what's going to happen there. And then same thing in Philly. I mean, as good as they're playing right now, can Harris stay hot for the whole playoff series? And with Joel Embiid, as good as he is, he also has a tendency to get himself in foul trouble and end up not being a factor in games. So, Milwaukee's going to be right there. I mean, are they the favorite? No, they're probably, if you rank those three teams, they're probably third. But that doesn't mean that they don't still have a pretty decent shot of getting to the Eastern Conference Finals.
I agree 100% with you on that one. And one final note from this game, Russell Westbrook just 10 points, 11 assists. We've known about his issues when it comes to the playoffs, and he's a hell of a player. He is a great scorer, averaging triple doubles, all of that stuff. But is he going to go down as probably one of the best players to never win a championship?
You know what? I'm afraid of that, and that's a shame because he gets a bad rap because he is so unbelievably talented and so much fun to watch. But for him to be able to win a championship, you're going to have 2 or 3 really good defensive players on that team because while he is great offensively, he does not play much defense. And you can see him go through cold spurts where he will have a game or two where he's just not real effective. So he's got to have help, definitely, especially on the defensive end if that's ever going to happen.
Yeah, it's a shame because, like you said, he is a great player. He does get a bad rap, and unfortunately, he'll probably not advance further than the first round this year. The Knicks and Hawks get together for Game 2 tonight. We all know how the first game ended with Trae Young hitting the running layup with 0.9 seconds to go in Madison Square Garden. Well, tonight, the Knicks were able to even that series with a 101-92 victory. Young still scored 30 points tonight. He was 11 of 20 from the field, 4 for 4 from the free-throw line. But Derrick Rose and Julius Randle, they basically carried the Knicks tonight. Derrick Rose had 26 points. You had Julius Randle with 15, Randy Bullock with 15 as well. And I keep going back to this. We talked about this on Monday as well. Derrick Rose is coming off the bench, okay? The argument was made that maybe it's for rest or what have you, but is it more so a mindset thing for him? Like, hey, I don't have to start and don't have the pressure of getting off to a good start, but I know coming off the bench I can play well? Or I mean, what is it about Derrick Rose coming off the bench that's making this team successful?
I think it's probably more the fact that he's not playing as many minutes just because we know that his body he's had so many physical issues that have limited how great his career's been. So I think him coming off the bench, not having to play as many minutes, has made him more valuable to that team. It's gotten him through the whole season, and he can be a force. He can take over in the minutes that he's on the court, and he's still able to get that rest so that he's able to play every game.
Well, but that's the thing I'm worried about, though. He played 39 minutes tonight. The most on the Knicks. The next guy was Randall with 36. So that's where I was kind of confused about the rest piece of it because I'm pretty sure he played over 30 minutes in Game 1 as well. So I get the point. Yeah, he has had a lot of physical issues, and being able to insert him in the moments that you need him to just go, I get. But it doesn't seem like the Knicks are doing that. It seems like the Knicks are just are saying, hey, look, you don't got to start the game because their starting point guard, Peyton, 5 minutes. So Derrick Rose played the majority of the game. So I don't know what it is or what it is with Knicks coaching that makes them feel like Derrick Rose is coming off the bench is the right call. But I agree with you. I think if the Knicks want to continue to advance further and further, they have to make sure Derrick Rose is rested and healthy. But can they do that if he is their leading scorer?
Well, I guess the question is, were they able to do it enough during the regular season where he didn't play as many minutes that he's got that rest, that his body's able to do that right now? Maybe they've, to be honest, I didn't pay attention to the Knicks every night during the season, how many minutes Rose played, but maybe coming off the bench during the regular season, they were able to give him that rest. And now in the playoffs, they're like, okay, we don't want to make you start. We'll still have you come off the bench, but you're going to play big minutes now. I mean, maybe that's the plan. I'm not really 100% sure there either.
Well, it could be that mindset thing too. If he came off the bench and played smaller minutes during the regular season but was successful, you don't want to maybe disrupt that flow either of like, hey, he knew what it took to get ready for a game. He knew he didn't have to start, so he had a little bit more time to kind of get his body into shape or into warmed up or what have you. And then he knew once he got in the game, he could do it at his own pace. So it does kind of make sense that if that's the plan during the regular season, it's the plan that they're getting to use in the playoffs and just expanding it a little bit as well. And it very well could have been the plan all along. Rest him during the regular season, get into the playoffs, and then just run him into the ground essentially to try and get the Knicks to win a championship this year because, man, it has been a long time since the Knicks have won a championship or really even been potent in the playoffs.
No, it's been a long time. I mean, consistently good. It's been since Patrick Ewing was there, and you're going back 20 plus years at that point.
Yeah, I remember those battles with MJ for sure. Quick update on the scoreboard: the Wild and Golden Knights tied at 0 after the second period, so they're trending towards another double overtime potential game there. Some games that have gone final. The Astros a 5-2 victory over the Dodgers. Trevor Bauer takes a loss in that one. The Padres 2-1 victory over the Brewers in 10. You have Caratini singling in the game-winning run in the top of the ninth there, or top of the 10th there. Nationals, Reds, Braves, Red Sox still in rain delays. The Diamondbacks a 4-0 lead over the Giants going into the bottom of the 5th. And in the NBA, you have the Jazz a 43-32 lead over the Grizzlies in the second quarter. All right, man, Scott, anything else you got before we head out tonight?
I think that's pretty much it. Good show. Really good information on the Grizzlies. Again, encourage anybody that's not gotten out there to Sajay to check out the Grizzlies in the past. Go out there and check out some independent league baseball over the summer.
Most definitely. Get out there and wherever you're at, get some really good baseball in you and a lot of great entertainment. All right, well, make sure you guys join us every night here on ASTV Productions for Crunch Time Nightly. Make sure you check out our past interviews as well. We just had an interview with former Blue Lubos Bartechko, a very, very good interview there. Make sure you check that out. Make sure you also head over to Toasted St. Louis as well because that's going to be one of our new affiliates as well. We're going to have a lot of great stuff going on over there in the coming weeks as well. For Scott, for Joe, who is not with us tonight, I am Wags. Thank you for joining us, and have a great rest of your Wednesday night. We will see you guys tomorrow.